1 year ago today, I took a chance. I stood in this very spot and shared not only parts of my story, but part of my family's story during one of the most difficult and isolating times in our lives. I also shared the project that came from it, Kids of Purple. My speech, a short 6 minutes of storytelling, was small, but it created a ripple. And this ripple created a wave. Now, as I stand here for the second time, I am working on turning this wave into a movement. A movement where children affected by domestic and family violence have hope for a brighter future. Good morning, ladies, gentlemen, and guests. The ripple effect is the concept that a single action has the power to set off a chain reaction. It is the notion that one word, one sentence, one speech can change everything. But just as positive actions can create waves of impactful change, so too can mere recognition of the issues we face. In 2023, the Australian Child Maltreatment Study found that 40% of Australians over the age of 16 experienced exposure to domestic violence during childhood. 40%. That is 2 in every 5 children. I am one of them, and one of them who found that in the grips of uncertainty and fear, there were no places to turn to for help. No acknowledgement or validation that children are affected by this crisis. No information targeted to children who are still learning to read long sentences and understand complicated words. No easily understandable guides on what a small, defenceless child should do in those dangerous situations. Despite 2 in 5 Australian children experiencing this crisis, there was nothing. This alarming gap was the ripple that inspired me to create Kids of Purple. Kids of Purple, named after the nationally recognised colour of domestic violence, is an online platform for youth affected by domestic and family violence. It aims to educate, empathise with, and empower young people by providing them with the information to know what is and isn't okay at home, the validation that they are not alone during their struggles, and the resources to feel the courage to seek help. Kids of Purple is for the 2 in 5 Australian children who, through no fault of their own, are 4.1 times more likely to have a severe alcohol use disorder, 5.8 times more likely to have PTSD, and 4.6 times more likely to have attempted suicide in the past 12 months compared to their peers. Kids of Purple is also for the 3 in 5 Australian children who will grow up in a world where someone they care about, friends, family members, neighbours, teachers, colleagues, will have experienced abuse by a loved one. And whilst the 2022 to 2032 National Plan to End Violence Against Women and Children outlines some promising plans, thousands of vulnerable high-risk children are still growing up in homes, enduring abuse day after day, with no one or no platform to turn to. It was because of this lack of support that I started Kids of Purple at 15, with no knowledge on how to create a website, let alone write content for it. However, with some small steps and some setbacks along the way, last year I stood in this same place with a website that was by no means perfect. But I took a chance and presented my ideas anyways. This was the next little ripple that created a wave. People believed in me. After the summit, I communicated with former Queensland Attorney General Yvette D'Arth. I had 2 animation videos funded by the Queensland Family and Child Commission to promote Kids of Purple. I met with the current Minister for Domestic and Family Violence Prevention, Amanda Cam, and I had a 7 News interview on Kids of Purple broadcast across Australia. I am lucky enough to say these are just a few examples. And all that was after one speech. One 6-minute speech, one ripple that created an entire chain of effects. Now, I am currently working with graphics designers to launch an updated website designed for Kids of Purple, which will be launched in May. I am collaborating with other organisations across Australia, uniting to promote the safety of all children. I am getting opportunities to speak at national conferences advocating for the safety of children. And I am beginning to look for a team of passionate youth who are willing to stand by me and join Kids of Purple to advocate for a world where young people, who are the only people who truly have the power to end it, to break free from the cycle of domestic violence. This is just the beginning. My journey with Kids of Purple has not been easy. There have certainly been moments where I've questioned whether my work actually has purpose, or whether I'm simply too young and inexperienced to take this project where I want it to go. But in those moments of doubt, I remember what it felt like to be a young person, not knowing what was happening, why it was happening, or when it would end. And that is enough to remind me that my story has power. All stories have power. And it is through both sharing these stories and listening to these stories that real change occurs. My project, Kids of Purple, is just one resource, one ripple that may kickstart change. But there is so much more that can be done and needs to be done. There are more voices that need to be heard. So, whether it is a startup project to improve the healthcare system, or to improve education, or to improve domestic violence resources for youth, taking action and speaking up matters. Sharing your lived experiences to help others matters. Being a voice for the voiceless matters. Because these little ripples create waves, and waves create movements. Thank you.